We're back now with a look at the drop in the number of international tourists who are visiting the United States this year.
Statistics Canada has released the latest international travel numbers. So far this year, Canadian travel into the U.S. has dropped dramatically.
Canadian tourists to the U.S. plunged nearly 40% in May. New data shows the U.S. just lost its biggest high-spending visitors from its closest ally. Over the last 3 months, America lost 3 million foreign tourists, risking a $21 billion revenue wipeout in one summer. Once busy terminals at JFK and LAX now echo with empty seats and short security lines, a stark sign that U.S. tourism is in freefall, and it started in Washington. How did the world's top vacation spot become the place everyone's skipping? It began at the Canadian border, spread across the Atlantic, and hit Las Vegas and New York hard. Trade tensions, new visa hurdles, and stricter rules pushed travelers away. So what triggered this mass exit? And what does it mean for an economy so reliant on tourism? Stay tuned. We'll break down the numbers, the policy blunders behind them, and why this trust crisis could redraw the global travel map. From those empty terminals to $21 billion lost, the sharpest hit is on Canada-US flights. As of March 26, 2025, bookings on these routes plunged 70% year over year. Airlines cut schedules through October, removing 320,000 seats from peak summer travel. On April 4th, Global Affairs Canada updated its travel advisory, warning citizens to expect extra scrutiny at U.S. border crossings and rethink non-essential trips. That warning spread fast, spiking anxiety. A new rule starting April 11 forces Canadians staying over 30 days to register with U.S. authorities and submit fingerprints. Many saw it as a harsh measure targeting regular tourists. Travel agencies now report a rush of bookings to Mexico and Europe instead, with some seeing demand jump 30% for alternative trips. Canadians are quietly swapping Florida for Cancun and Paris. Stats Canada shows Canadian air return trips fell 14% in April and 24% in May, matching a steady drop in short-haul cross-border travel. Frustration over tariffs, visa delays, and headlines about detentions keep fueling the slide. Duty-free shops at border crossings saw sales drop 40 to 50% from January to April. With 20 million Canadians making up a quarter of all foreign visitors to the U.S. each year, this drop is reshaping summer travel. As peak summer hits, the U.S. travel story is flipped from rebound hopes to empty gates and tense border checks. Next, we'll look at how local economies are feeling the squeeze. But Canada is just the start. Across the Atlantic, Europe's flight routes to the U.S. have hit new turbulence. By late May, European arrivals were down 17% year over year. Once packed flights from Germany, France, and the UK now have rows of empty seats, with EU airlines reporting record vacancies on routes that used to sell out. And it's getting worse. Reuters says bookings for July transatlantic flights are down another 13%, forcing airlines to slash fares to pandemic lows just to fill seats. Paris to New York tickets now look like COVID-era deals, all because travelers are holding back. Behind this hesitation isn't just caution. It's a reaction to U.S. policies tourists now see as hostile. European media keeps highlighting America's stricter immigration controls and aggressive border checks, stoking fears among would-be travelers. Stories of airport interrogations and hours-long delays spread fast on social media, fueling anxiety across Europe. Hotels from Manhattan to Miami Beach that once charged premium rates now slash prices, some by 40%, just to fill empty rooms. Restaurants, tours, taxis, every business relying on foreign tourists feels the sting. The hit doesn't stop there. Losing these big spending Europeans punches holes in city budgets. From Broadway to Orlando's theme parks, officials warn falling visitor numbers could wipe out thousands of jobs and shrink local tax revenue. This isn't a blip. It's America's new tourism reality. So, as Europeans choose friendlier destinations, the question is, How long can the U.S. afford empty airports and wary allies? Stay tuned. Next, we'll show how this crash is hitting American jobs in real time. The drop in foreign visitors didn't stop at Canada's border. It spread nationwide. From New York to California, empty arrival halls tell the story of a deepening crisis. This isn't seasonal. It's a fundamental shift shaking U.S. tourism to its core. TSA checkpoint data backs it up. For the first time since the pandemic recovery, national screenings fell below the previous year's level for 90 days straight. Airports that once broke records now report declines, a red flag for domestic airlines. The timing isn't random. On April 11th, 2025, the administration rolled out a rule. Visitors staying over 30 days must register and submit fingerprints. This hit right after Ottawa warned its citizens about U.S. travel. Canadians canceled trips in droves, and Europeans followed. The flights from Western Europe to the U.S. dropped 17% in March, the first fall since 2021. July bookings fell another 13%, forcing airlines to slash fares to pandemic levels. Imagine New York, Paris tickets priced like it's 2020, not because travel's cheap, but because demand disappeared. To make matters worse, tariffs on EU goods turned into a trade war, feeding the story that the U.S. isn't just targeting goods, but visitors too. The Global Travel and Tourism Council predicts a 7% drop in foreign visitor spending in 2025, a $12.5 billion loss. Out of 184 countries, the U.S. is the only one with a net decline. No other major economy is bleeding tourism dollars like this. Behind the stats are empty terminals and shuttered bars. But the real pain hits beyond airports. Hotels, taxis, parks, tours, all losing money. If this foreign spending drop sticks, over 230,000 jobs could vanish, slicing billions from GDP. This isn't just a vacation story. It's a warning. Washington's hardline stance, tariffs, and fingerprint rules triggered a credibility crisis. The U.S. is now the only top destination shrinking its visitor numbers on purpose. Unless policies change fast, airports will stay empty and wallets will stay closed. Now look at Las Vegas. In May 2025, visitor numbers plunged 6.5%, the fifth straight monthly drop. On the Strip, it's obvious. Casino floors once packed now have empty seats. Hotels desperate to fill rooms cut prices, but visitors aren't biting. The Times called Vegas pricing absurd. Sky-high resort fees and food costs push people away. In the past, demand let casinos charge top dollar without losing guests. Now, Washington's tariffs and strict immigration rules send a chilling message overseas, shaking traveler confidence and hurting Vegas, a city built on global visitors and their spending. Restaurants, bars, shows, shops, all feeling the pinch. Tour operators watch bookings dry up. It's not just lost dollars, it's jobs and livelihoods. What's happening in Vegas shows how fast policy hits Main Street. New York is next. In May, NYC Tourism and Conventions cut its 2025 forecast by 17%, wiping out 3.5 million visitors. That's more than $4 billion in lost spending. Local leaders admit it. This isn't a hiccup, it's a hemorrhage. From Fifth Avenue shops to Broadway shows, money's drying up. Foreign tourists used to spend about $1,700 per trip, far more than domestic travelers. With millions missing, restaurants, museums, and hotels are scrambling. Behind the scenes, Washington's tariffs on EU and Canadian goods sparked retaliation, boycotts, and Choose Canada campaigns. This swirl of trade wars and border crackdowns shapes travel choices. Stories of harassment at checkpoints and hours of questioning go viral, driving bookings down. Travel agents see a spike in cancellations and rerouting to Mexico, Canada, and Europe. The lost revenue in New York will ripple out, hurting cultural venues, cutting hospitality jobs, and shrinking city tax bases. And the fallout doesn't stop there. New York sets the tone for U.S. tourism. Its slump sends a global signal. American cities aren't guaranteed playgrounds for international tourists anymore. This is more than stats. It's a credibility crisis. Tariffs wound tight, endless security headaches, soaring prices. No wonder America's airports are turning into ghost towns. 3 million tourists gone. Billions lost. Vegas lights dim. New York's sparkle fading. America's invisible export, foreign tourism, is stalling, thanks to Washington's political gridlock. If leaders don't ease tensions, fix security fears, and cut hidden fees, that iconic welcome to America sign could rust away. Will travelers swap the stars and stripes for Canada's maple leaf or Europe's golden stars? Or will this crisis finally force America's tourism industry to reinvent itself? Lower fees, improve the visitor experience, rebuild trust before another tariff hits? Would you still book your next U.S. trip this year? This was just the beginning. Hit that subscribe button and buckle up. Digital Garage has so much more in store.